In 2026, danger no longer announces itself with chaos. Alone, it hides inside systems, routines, and unspoken rules. In one Brazilian neighborhood, violence isn't random or occasional. It's organized, predictable, and permanently embedded into daily life. Here, control doesn't come from City Hall or the courts, but from armed groups that govern streets with surveillance, enforcement, and fear. Residents don't ask whether violence will return, they ask when and from where. This neighborhood has become globally notorious not just for its crime statistics, but for what it represents: a modern urban battlefield where the state enters briefly and withdraws, while criminal power remains constant. Children grow up learning escape routes before math tables. Businesses operate under unofficial taxes. Silence after dark can mean safety or the calm before another firefight. What makes this place one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the world isn't just the number of lives lost, but how violence has become normalized, inherited, and professionally managed. This isn't a story about lawlessness, it's a story about order without justice, and why that may be even more terrifying. Let's watch. 1. Criminal organizations now operate like governments. In 2026, the criminal groups controlling this neighborhood function less like street gangs and more like corporate states. They collect taxes from residents and businesses, regulate who can live where, and punish violations swiftly and publicly. Drug trafficking is only one revenue stream. Extortion, illegal internet services, fuel theft, counterfeit goods, and digital fraud now play major roles. Some groups even control informal housing markets, charging rent and issuing permissions to build or expand homes. Leadership structures are hierarchical, disciplined, and insulated. Orders flow downward, and mistakes are not tolerated. This level of organization reduces random violence, but increases strategic brutality. When violence happens, it's decisive and overwhelming. The danger comes from living under a system where enforcement is absolute and appeals don't exist. Suggested image: armed lookouts overlooking dense urban housing. 2. Surveillance has made the neighborhood untouchable. One of the biggest changes in recent years is the rise of low-cost surveillance technology. Criminal groups now use drones, encrypted radios, phone scanners, and rooftop cameras to monitor movement in real time. Residents know they are always being watched not by the state, but by criminals. This creates psychological pressure that extends far beyond physical violence. Even speaking to the wrong person can carry fatal consequences. In 2026, danger isn't just about shootouts. It's about living in a space where privacy no longer exists. Suggested image: rooftop views with antennas and makeshift surveillance points. 3. Police operations have become short-term fixes. Despite larger budgets and more frequent raids, law enforcement still struggles to maintain control beyond brief windows. Police enter heavily armored, conduct operations, seize weapons, and withdraw. Within days or weeks, criminal control returns. The core issue is sustainability. Police presence is temporary, criminal presence is permanent. Officers rotate, residents stay. Gangs adapt faster than the institutions. This neighborhood remains dangerous because force is used without long-term governance, rebuilding, or trust. Suggested image: police raid aftermath in a residential area. 4. Youth recruitment has become more sophisticated. In 2026, criminal groups recruit young people earlier and smarter. Children grow up surrounded by symbols of power, money, and protection associated with gangs. Social media glorifies the lifestyle. Recruits are no longer just gunmen. They become drone operators, digital scammers, accountants, couriers, and lookouts. This diversification makes crime more attractive and harder to dismantle. Schools struggle to compete with the immediate financial rewards gangs offer. When legal opportunities feel distant or unattainable, crime feels logical. Suggested image: young residents standing near armed adults in the community. 5. Firepower has escalated beyond urban policing. The level of weaponry in this neighborhood now rivals that of active conflict zones, a stark reflection of how entrenched organized crime has become. High-caliber rifles, armor-piercing rounds, and explosives are increasingly common, giving criminal groups a firepower advantage that far exceeds what local law enforcement can easily counter. These weapons don't just make encounters deadlier, they fundamentally change daily behavior. Police operations are cautious and often delayed, knowing the risks of confronting heavily armed adversaries. Emergency responders hesitate, slowing medical aid when seconds can mean life or death. Civilians adapt their routines as well, avoiding windows, rooftops, and open streets, and planning movements around rumored clashes. Even brief skirmishes can produce multiple fatalities, with stray bullets penetrating walls, vehicles, and homes. Suggested image seized assault rifles and ammunition. 6. Economic neglect has locked the area into survival mode. While Brazil has made visible economic progress in major cities and business districts, this neighborhood remains largely shut out from that growth. Roads are poorly maintained, utilities are unreliable, and basic public services struggle to function. Formal employment opportunities are scarce, leaving many residents dependent on informal or unstable income just to survive. Promised investments arrive slowly, if at all, reinforcing the feeling that the area exists outside the nation's priorities. When legal systems fail to offer stability, illegal systems inevitably take their place. Criminal organizations step in to provide loans, protection, and even job services the state should supply but does not. These offers come at a brutal cost: loyalty, silence, and obedience. Residents are left with impossible choices: comply with criminal control or attempt to flee with resources they don't have. For many families, leaving isn't an option, trapping generations in the same cycle. Suggested image: crumbling infrastructure besides crowded housing. 7. The human cost is what makes it globally notorious. What truly places this neighborhood among the world's most dangerous is the scale of normalized trauma embedded into everyday life. Children grow up learning to distinguish gunfire by sound, instinctively knowing when to hide and when to move. Families plan work, school, and errands around whispered warnings of possible conflicts, treating danger as a routine variable rather than an emergency. While homicide numbers rise and fall, the psychological damage never resets. Chronic anxiety, untreated PTSD, and unresolved grief are widespread, quietly shaping how people think, sleep, and interact. Mental health support is rare, leaving residents to cope alone with constant stress and loss. International reports may highlight crime rates and casualty figures, but they fail to capture the exhaustion of living in a place where danger never fully disappears. Suggested image: memorial wall, honoring victims of violence. Final outro. This neighborhood story doesn't end with crime statistics or viral headlines. It continues every single day in the lives of people who wake up, work, and raise families under constant tension. In 2026, its danger isn't defined solely by gunfire, but by permanence. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more captivating content on our YouTube channel.